Today we're doing math pages 195 and 196. Isaiah 12, 1 through 2 says, I will give thanks to you, O Lord. For though you were angry with me, your anger turned away, and you comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid. For the Lord God is my strength and my might. He has become my salvation. Okay, and so we're looking at these different, using the divisibility rules with these different problems. And number one first asks us to circle the even numbers and underline the odd numbers. And remember, the even numbers end in a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So if it ends in it, so this ends in 2, this ends in 4. If it ends in a 2 or a 4, then it's even. And it says to circle the even numbers. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. That ends in a 2, so we'll circle it. That ends in a 4, we'll circle it. Ends in a 7, so we need to underline it. Ends in a 5, so we need to underline it. Ends in a 4, so we'll circle it. Ends in a 3, we'll underline it. Ends in a 9, we'll underline it. Number 2. Place a check in the blank if the number is divisible by 2. Remember, numbers that are divisible by 2 will end again in a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. It'll end in that. So put a check if 2 can go into it. The first one, 14, well, it ends in a 4. So yes, that one is divisible by 2. The next one, 23, ends in a 3, but that's not one of our numbers here, so we're not going to put a check there. The third one is 10, that ends in a 0, so yes, it's divisible by 2. The next one, 57, ends in a 7, so that's not divisible by 2. We won't put a check there. The next one, 29, ends in a 9, and so it's not divisible by 2. We won't put a check there. And the last one, 18, ends in an 8, and that's one of our numbers, ends in an 8, so we will put a check there. Number 3 says to place a check in the blank if the number is divisible by 3. Now remember, to know if the number is divisible by 3, we add up the digits. For example, for this one, it's a 4 and a 3. We add those up. 4 plus 3 equals 7. Does 3 go in the 7 evenly? No, it doesn't go in evenly. So that means we won't put a check for the first one. How about the next one? It's 27. So we take the 2 and the 7, add them together. 2 plus 7 is 9. Does 3 go in the 9 evenly? Yes, it does. So that tells us 27 is divisible by 3. And we don't have to say how many times, we just put a check there. The next one is 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. Does 3 go in the 6 evenly? Yes, it does. And so we're going to put a check for 15. And that one you probably could have just thought of. You could have just said to yourself, well, does 3 go into 15? Yes, you know it does. You have that memorized. Okay, the next one, 36. 3 and 6. Add them together. 3 plus 6 is 9. Does 3 go into 9 evenly? Yes, it does. So we know 36 is divisible by 3. 81. 8 plus 1. Does 3 go into 9 evenly? Yes, it does. And so we know that 81 is divisible by 3. The last one, 47. 4 plus 7 is 11. 3 does not go into 11 evenly. So we know this is not divisible by 4. Okay, we'll look at number 4 now. Number 4 says place a check in the blank if the number is divisible by 4. Now remember, the rule for 4 is you look at the last two numbers. So we look at the 32 here, or we look at the 00 here, or the 31. Remember, if 4 goes into the last two numbers, then you know it's divisible by 4. Does 4 go into 32 evenly? Well, 8 times 4 is 32, so yes, it does. Now, if you remember the other rule for 4, if it's a double 0, then 4 does go into it, so we need to put a check there. 31, does 4 go into 31 evenly? No, it doesn't, so we will not put anything right there. 718, does 4 go into 18 evenly? Well, it goes into 16 and it goes into 20, but it doesn't go into 18, so we won't put a check there. The next one is 08, which is the same as 8. Does 4 go into 8 evenly? Yes, it does. We need to put a check there. And then for the last one, 00, remember the special rule with 00. It does get a check. Okay, for our last one on this page, we know that if a number is divisible by 5, it ends in a 5 or a 0. So 554 ends in a 4. It means it's not a 5 or 0, so we won't put a check there. 150 ends in a 0, so that is divisible by 5. We'll put a check there. 75 is divisible by 5. 16 is not divisible by 5. 29 is not divisible by 5. And 40 is not divisible by, is divisible by 5. Just testing you. Just testing you. Okay, turn the page over. Let's look at number 6. It says to place a check in a blank if the number is divisible by 9. Remember, 9 is going to be like the rule for 3. If you add up the digits together, if 9 goes into it evenly, then it's divisible by 9. Okay, 81. 8 plus 1. 8 plus 1 is 9, and so we know 9 goes into 9. So the first one we need to check it. The next one, 126. So 1 plus 2 plus 6. Well, that equals 9, and we know, again, 9 goes into 9, of course. And so we need to check it. Next one, 39. 3 plus 9 is 12. 9 does not go into 12 evenly, so 39 does not get a check. Next one, 504. Well, 5 plus 0 plus 4 is 9, so we know that 9 goes into it. It's nice that we don't have to say how many times. We just can say, yes, it goes into it evenly. We don't know how many times, but it does. The next one, 3 plus 2, that's 5. Plus 7 is 12, and 9 does not go into 12 evenly, so not that one. And the last one for 9s, 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 9 more would be 21, and 9 does not go into 21 evenly. And the last one, number is, if the number is divisible by 10, we've got to put a check mark, and we know that it's got to end in a 0 for it to be divisible by 10. That makes it really easy. That's a 0, that's a 0, 96 is not, 85 is not, 500 has a 0, and 275 is not. Go ahead and do the rest on your own. I know you can because you guys are smart. Hopefully today's lesson on divisibility rules will help you to understand them as we move into the next lesson when we use divisibility rules to reduce large fractions. You guys are so smart.